Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the English Mastery Podcast. If you clicked on this episode, maybe you're feeling tired, unmotivated, or stuck in the same routine. And first of all, that's okay. You're not alone.
Yes, because many people think laziness means you don't care. But most of the time, it means you care too much and feel overwhelmed.
Today, we're not here to push you or shout motivation at you. We're here to talk honestly, like a real conversation, about why you feel lazy and demotivated and how to slowly move forward again.
So sit comfortably, relax, and just listen. You don't need to do anything right now. Let's talk.
This episode is about 45 minutes long. And we know that might sound like a lot when you're already feeling tired. But here's the thing, you don't have to listen to it all at once. You can pause. You can come back to it. There's no pressure.
And if you do stay with us for the whole episode, we promise you'll leave with a different perspective. Not just about productivity or motivation, but about yourself. About why you feel the way you feel, and what you can actually do about it.
You can listen while lying down, while walking, while doing nothing at all. Just let the words reach you. Sometimes, the best thing you can do when you're feeling stuck is to just listen and absorb new ideas.
Before we begin, I want you to take a deep breath. Seriously, breathe in slowly. Hold it, and breathe out. Let go of any guilt you're carrying about being lazy or unmotivated. For the next 45 minutes, give yourself permission to just be where you are.
Are you ready?
Let's begin.
English Mastery Podcast. Your journey to learn and speak.
Let's start with something important. Laziness is not your personality. It's not who you are. It's often a sign that your mind is tired, confused, or overloaded. When you think about everything you should do, learn English, work harder, change your life, your brain feels pressure. And when pressure is too strong, the brain looks for comfort. That's when we avoid tasks, scroll on our phones, or delay everything. Not because we are weak, but because starting feels heavy. Think about it. When was the last time you called yourself lazy? What were you avoiding? Was it really that you didn't want to do anything? Or was it that the thing you needed to do felt too big, too complicated, too overwhelming? Most of the time, laziness is not about not wanting to work. It's about not knowing where to start. It's about feeling paralyzed by all the things you think you should be doing.
And here's something people don't talk about enough. Laziness can be a form of self-protection. When you've been stressed for a long time, when you've been pushing yourself too hard, your brain eventually says, "Stop. I need a break." And if you don't listen to that signal, your brain forces you to stop. It shuts down your motivation. It makes you feel lazy. But it's not laziness. It's exhaustion disguised as laziness. I see this all the time. People who work hard, study hard, take care of their families, manage their responsibilities, and then they feel guilty because they don't want to do anything on the weekend. They call themselves lazy, but they're not lazy. They're burnout. And there's a big difference. Lazy means you don't care. Burnout means you've been carrying too much for too long without rest.
Another thing about laziness, we often use it as an excuse to avoid facing deeper problems. For example, you might say, "I'm too lazy to learn English." But the real reason might be fear. Fear of making mistakes. Fear of sounding stupid. Fear of failure. So your brain labels it as laziness because laziness feels less painful than admitting you're afraid. Or maybe you say, "I'm too lazy to start that project." But the real reason is you don't believe it will work. You don't believe in yourself. So instead of trying and possibly failing, you avoid it and call it laziness. But recognizing this pattern is the first step to breaking it. Once you see what's really happening, you can address the real issue instead of fighting against yourself.
And let's be honest, sometimes you actually do need to be lazy. Sometimes rest is not a weakness. It's a necessity. We live in a culture that glorifies constant productivity. If you're not working, learning, improving, achieving, then you're wasting time. But that's not true. Rest is productive. Sleep is productive. Doing nothing is sometimes the most productive thing you can do. Your brain needs downtime to process information, to make connections, to recharge. If you're constantly busy, constantly stimulated, constantly moving, you never give your brain a chance to reset. So when you feel lazy, ask yourself, am I actually lazy, or do I just need rest? Because sometimes the kindest thing you can do for yourself is to stop calling it laziness and start calling it self-care.
So to summarize this chapter, laziness is not your identity. It's a symptom of overwhelm, exhaustion, fear, or lack of clarity. And once you understand what's really causing it, you can address it. You can't fix laziness by forcing yourself to work harder. You fix it by understanding what your mind and body are trying to tell you. Laziness is not your personality. It's a signal from your mind. Often, laziness means you're overwhelmed, not that you don't care. Laziness can be exhaustion or fear disguised. Sometimes rest is exactly what you need, not more work. Understand the real cause before trying to fix it.
Demotivation usually appears when our goals are too big or unclear. Saying, I want to be successful or I want to change my life sounds good, but it gives no clear direction. Your brain doesn't know where to begin, so it chooses distraction. What really helps is making goals very small. Not, I will be productive today, but I will work for 10 minutes. Small goals reduce fear. They make action feel safe. Let me give you an example. Imagine you want to learn English. That's a huge goal. How do you learn a whole language? It feels impossible. So your brain shuts down. You feel demotivated before you even start. But if you change the goal to, I will listen to one English podcast today, suddenly it feels doable. Your brain says, okay, I can do that. And once you start, momentum builds. But it all starts with making the goal small enough that your brain doesn't resist it.
Another reason for demotivation is lack of immediate results. We live in a world of instant gratification. You click a button and something happens immediately. But real progress doesn't work that way. When you study English for a week and you still can't speak fluently, you feel demotivated. When you work hard for a month and you don't see dramatic changes, you lose motivation. But here's the truth. Progress is happening even when you can't see it. Every time you listen to English, your brain is making connections. Every time you read a sentence, you're building vocabulary. It's just happening slowly, beneath the surface. And if you quit because you don't see immediate results, you'll never get to the point where the results become visible.
Demotivation also comes from focusing on what you haven't done instead of what you have done. You wake up and think about all the things you should have accomplished by now, all the goals you haven't reached, all the habits you haven't built. And this makes you feel like a failure. It drains your energy before the day even begins. But what if you change the focus? What if instead of thinking about what you haven't done, you think about what you have done? Even small things. You woke up today. You made your bed. You drank water. You're listening to this podcast. These are all actions. They might seem small, but they're proof that you're not completely stuck. You're still moving, even if it's slow.
Let me talk about another hidden cause of demotivation: unclear values. When you don't know what truly matters to you, every task feels meaningless. You study English, but you don't know why it matters to you personally. You work hard, but you don't know what you're working toward. Without a clear why, motivation disappears quickly. So ask yourself, why do I want to learn English? Is it for a job? For travel? For personal growth? For connection? And whatever your answer is, make sure it's your answer, not what someone else told you. When your goals align with your values, motivation becomes natural. You don't have to force it. It flows from a deeper place inside you.
And finally, demotivation happens when you're surrounded by negative influences. If the people around you are constantly complaining, criticizing, or discouraging you, it's hard to stay motivated. If your environment is chaotic, cluttered, or distracting, it's hard to focus. Motivation doesn't exist in a vacuum. It's influenced by what you see, hear, and experience every day. So take a look at your environment. Are the people around you supportive? Are they encouraging your growth? Or are they pulling you down? You don't have to cut people out of your life, but you do need to protect your energy. Spend more time with people who inspire you. Consume content that uplifts you. Create a space that supports your goals. Your environment shapes your motivation more than you realize. Demotivation often comes from goals that are too big or unclear. Lack of immediate results can drain motivation quickly. Focus on what you have done, not just what you haven't. Without clear values, every task feels meaningless. Your environment and the people around you affect your motivation.
Another big mistake is waiting for motivation. Many people say, I'll start when I feel motivated. But motivation doesn't come first. Action comes first. Even 5 minutes of effort can change your mood. Once you start, your energy slowly changes. You don't need strong motivation. You need a small beginning. Starting badly is better than not starting at all. Let me explain how this works. Motivation is not a feeling that appears out of nowhere and then makes you take action. It's actually the opposite. Action creates motivation. When you take a small step, your brain releases dopamine. You feel a tiny sense of accomplishment. That feeling motivates you to take another step. And another. This is how momentum builds.
Think about a time when you didn't want to do something, but you forced yourself to start anyway. Maybe you didn't want to clean your room, but you started picking up one thing, and then another, and before you knew it, you were actually cleaning. That's because action creates energy. Sitting and waiting for energy doesn't work. You have to move first, and the energy follows. The same applies to learning English. You might not feel motivated to study, but if you just open a book or play a podcast or write one sentence, something shifts. Your brain wakes up, your focus sharpens, and suddenly, studying doesn't feel as hard as you thought it would. But none of that happens if you keep waiting for motivation to appear magically.
Here's another truth. Motivation is unreliable. Some days you feel motivated. Other days you don't. If you only work on the days you feel motivated, you'll be inconsistent. And inconsistency leads to no progress. But if you work even on the days you don't feel motivated, you build discipline. And discipline is much stronger than motivation. Discipline means you do what you said you would do, even when you don't feel like it. It's not about being harsh with yourself. It's about keeping promises to yourself. And every time you keep a small promise, you build self-trust. And self-trust is the foundation of long-term success.
I want to share a simple technique that helps when motivation is low. It's called the 2-minute rule. If you want to build a habit or start a task, commit to doing it for just 2 minutes. Not 30 minutes. Not an hour. Just 2 minutes. This removes the pressure. 2 minutes feels easy. And once you start, you'll often continue naturally. But even if you only do 2 minutes, that's still progress. For example, if you want to practice English, commit to reading for 2 minutes. That's it. You can stop after 2 minutes if you want. But most of the time, once you start, you'll keep going. The hardest part is always starting. So make starting as easy as possible.
Another helpful mindset shift. Stop thinking I have to and start thinking I choose to. When you say, I have to study English, it feels like a burden. It feels forced. But when you say, I choose to study English because I want to improve, it feels empowering. It reminds you that you're in control. You're not a victim of your responsibilities. You're the author of your life. This small change in language can completely shift your energy. Try it. Instead of I have to work, say I choose to work because it supports my goals. Instead of I have to practice, say I choose to practice because I'm investing in myself. Feel the difference? One drains motivation. The other creates it.
So to summarize, don't wait for motivation. Create it through small actions. Use the 2-minute rule to make starting easy. Build discipline instead of relying on fleeting feelings. And change your language from have to choose to. These strategies won't make you feel motivated every single day, but they will help you move forward even on the days when motivation is nowhere to be found. Motivation doesn't come before action. Action creates motivation. Action generates energy, not the other way around. Discipline is more reliable than motivation. Use the 2-minute rule to make starting easy. Change I have to I choose to for empowerment. We also need to talk about mental exhaustion. Today, we consume too much information. Social media, videos, messages, all day, every day. Your brain feels busy, but you haven't created anything. This kind of tiredness makes you feel lazy, even if you did nothing physical. Real rest is different. Real rest gives energy back. Sleep, silence, walking, breathing. When you rest correctly, motivation slowly returns. Think about a typical day. You wake up and immediately check your phone. You scroll through social media while eating breakfast. You listen to music or podcasts during your commute. You work or study while notifications pop up constantly. You watch videos during breaks. You scroll again before bed. Your brain is never quiet. It's always processing information. And this creates a type of exhaustion that's invisible but very real.
This is called decision fatigue. Every piece of information you consume requires a tiny decision. Should I click this? Should I read this? Should I respond to this? These decisions seem small, but they add up. By the end of the day, your brain has made thousands of micro decisions, and it's exhausted. So when you sit down to study English or work on a project, your brain has no energy left. Not because you're lazy, but because you've been mentally overworked all day without realizing it. The solution? Create moments of true rest. True rest means no input, no music, no podcasts, no scrolling, just silence, just breathing, just being. This feels uncomfortable at first because we're so used to constant stimulation. But this is what your brain needs to recover. Even 10 minutes of sitting quietly can make a huge difference.
Another form of exhaustion is emotional exhaustion. When you're constantly worried about the future, replaying the past, comparing yourself to others, or dealing with difficult relationships, it drains your energy. You might not be doing anything physical, but your emotions are working overtime. And emotions consume energy, just like physical activity does. If you're feeling lazy but you've also been stressed, anxious, or emotionally overwhelmed, that's not laziness. That's your body asking for emotional rest. And emotional rest looks different for everyone. For some people, it's talking to a friend. For others, it's journaling. For others, it's spending time in nature. Find what helps you process and release emotions, and make time for it regularly.
Let's also talk about sleep. This might sound obvious, but many people are chronically sleep deprived and don't realize it. You might get 6 hours of sleep and think, that's enough. But for most people, it's not. Your brain needs 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep to function properly. Without it, everything becomes harder. Focus becomes harder. Learning becomes harder. Motivation disappears. And it's not just about quantity. It's about quality. If you're scrolling on your phone before bed, the blue light disrupts your sleep. If you're stressed or anxious, your sleep is shallow. If your room is too bright or too noisy, you don't rest deeply. So pay attention to your sleep habits. Prioritize them. Because no amount of motivation techniques will work if you're running on empty.
Here's a simple practice that can help with mental exhaustion: the digital detox. Once a week, take a few hours completely offline. No phone, no computer, no TV, just you and the real world. Go for a walk, read a physical book, cook a meal, have a real conversation. Sit and do nothing. This gives your brain a chance to reset. And when you come back online, you'll feel clearer, calmer, and more energized. I know this sounds hard. We're addicted to our devices. But that's exactly why it's necessary. If you can't go a few hours without your phone, that's a sign you need this practice. Start small. 1 hour, then 2, then a whole morning. You'll be surprised how much mental space you gain back.
So to summarize, laziness is often mental exhaustion in disguise. Too much information, too many decisions, too much emotional stress, and too little sleep all drain your energy. Real rest means giving your brain a break from constant input. Sleep well. Disconnect regularly. Process your emotions. And watch how your motivation naturally returns when your mind is actually rested. Mental exhaustion makes you feel lazy even when you're not. Constant information and decisions drain your brain's energy. Real rest means no input, just silence and presence. Sleep quality matters as much as sleep quantity. A digital detox can reset your mental energy. Comparison is another reason motivation disappears. You see other people working hard, improving, achieving goals, and you feel behind. But you only see their results, not their struggles. Comparing your starting point to someone else's progress will always hurt your confidence. The only real comparison that matters is with yourself yesterday. Even small improvement is progress. Social media makes this worse. You scroll and see people living perfect lives, speaking 5 languages, traveling the world, working dream jobs. And you look at your own life and feel small. But here's what you're forgetting. Social media is a highlight reel. People only post their best moments. You don't see the failures, the doubts, the messy days. You're comparing your behind the scenes to everyone else's highlight reel. And that's not a fair comparison.
I want to tell you something important. There will always be someone ahead of you. Always. No matter how much progress you make, someone will be further along. Someone will be smarter, faster, more talented. And if you base your motivation on comparing yourself to them, you'll always feel demotivated, because you're chasing a moving target that you can never catch. But here's the beautiful truth. Their success doesn't take away from your success. Someone else learning English fluently doesn't mean you can't. Someone else achieving their goals doesn't mean you can't achieve yours. There's enough success for everyone. So stop seeing other people as competition and start seeing them as proof that it's possible.
Instead of comparing yourself to others, compare yourself to who you were last week, last month, last year. Are you a little bit better? Even just a tiny bit? Then you're winning. Progress is not about being the best. It's about being better than you were before. And that's something you have complete control over. Let me give you a practical exercise. At the end of each week, write down 3 things you did that moved you forward. They can be small. I listened to an English podcast. I practiced speaking for 5 minutes. I read 1 page. When you focus on your own progress instead of other people's, you'll see that you're actually doing better than you think.
Another helpful practice: limit your exposure to comparison triggers. If scrolling through social media makes you feel bad about yourself, reduce your time on it. If certain people in your life make you feel inadequate, spend less time with them. This isn't about avoiding reality. It's about protecting your mental energy so you can focus on your own growth. You don't owe anyone your attention. You don't have to consume content that makes you feel worse about yourself. Choose what you let into your mind carefully. Follow people who inspire you without making you feel small. Consume content that teaches you, not content that makes you feel behind.
And remember, everyone's journey is different. Some people learn languages quickly because they have more time, more resources, or more natural aptitude. That doesn't mean your journey is less valid. You're working with your own circumstances, your own challenges, your own life. And that's okay. Stop trying to follow someone else's path. Create your own path at your own pace. Comparison to others kills motivation and confidence. Social media shows highlight reels, not real struggles. There's enough success for everyone. Others' wins don't limit yours. Compare yourself to your past self, not to others. Protect your energy by limiting exposure to comparison triggers.
Let's talk about discipline, because discipline sounds scary, but it's actually simple. Discipline is not forcing yourself to suffer. It's keeping small promises to yourself. When you say, "I'll study for 5 minutes," and you do it, you build trust with yourself. And self-trust is stronger than motivation. When you trust yourself, starting becomes easier. Think about trust in relationships. If someone keeps breaking their promises to you, you stop trusting them. The same thing happens with yourself. If you keep saying, "I'll start tomorrow," and you never do, you stop trusting yourself. And when you don't trust yourself, every goal feels impossible. Because deep down, you don't believe you'll follow through.
But here's the good news. You can rebuild self-trust. And it starts with tiny promises. Don't promise yourself you'll study for 2 hours. Promise yourself you'll study for 5 minutes. And then do it. Keep that promise. The next day, do it again. And again. Over time, your brain learns, oh, when I say I'll do something, I actually do it. And that's when discipline becomes natural. Discipline is not about willpower. It's about identity. It's about becoming the kind of person who keeps their word. And you become that person by practicing with small commitments. 5 minutes of study. 1 page of reading. 1 sentence of writing. These tiny actions build the foundation of discipline.
Another key to discipline: remove the need for decisions. Decisions drain energy. So instead of deciding every day whether you'll study, just decide once. I study English every day at 7 p.m. Now it's not a decision. It's just what you do. This is called a routine. And routines eliminate the mental resistance that comes with decision-making. When studying becomes part of your routine, like brushing your teeth, you don't have to convince yourself to do it. You just do it. Your brain doesn't waste energy debating whether today is the day. It already knows, this is what we do at this time. And that makes discipline effortless.
Let me also say this. Discipline doesn't mean perfection. You will miss days. You will break promises to yourself sometimes. And that's okay. What matters is what you do next. If you miss a day, don't spiral into guilt and give up. Just start again the next day. One missed day doesn't erase all your progress. Only quitting does. Think of discipline like a skill you're building. At first, it's weak. You mess up often. But every time you practice, it gets stronger. Every time you keep a small promise, your discipline muscle grows. And eventually, it becomes strong enough to carry you through difficult days.
Here's a powerful mindset shift. Instead of focusing on what you have to give up, focus on what you gain. Discipline is not about denying yourself. It's about choosing long-term satisfaction over short-term comfort. When you choose to study instead of scrolling, you're not losing fun. You're gaining progress. You're gaining skills. You're gaining a better future. Reframe discipline as freedom. Because when you have discipline, you have control over your life. You're not controlled by impulses, distractions, or procrastination. You decide what you do and when you do it. And that's the ultimate freedom.
So to summarize, discipline is about keeping small promises to yourself. Start tiny. Build routines. Don't aim for perfection. And remember that discipline gives you freedom, not restriction. When you trust yourself, everything else becomes easier. Discipline is keeping small promises to yourself. Self-trust is built through consistent tiny actions. Routines eliminate the need for daily decisions. Missing one day doesn't erase progress. Quitting does. Discipline is freedom, not restriction. Your environment also plays a big role. A messy space, noise, constant notifications, all of this drains your energy. You don't need a perfect space. Just make it a little better. Clean one corner. Put your phone away for a moment. Sit somewhere quiet. These small changes make focus easier. Your environment is constantly sending signals to your brain. If your desk is cluttered, your brain feels cluttered. If your phone is buzzing every 2 minutes, your brain stays in a state of distraction. If your space is chaotic, your mind becomes chaotic. You can't expect to feel calm and focused in an environment that's pulling your attention in 10 different directions.
But here's the good news. You don't need a perfect space to be productive. You just need a slightly better space. Start small. Clear your desk. Turn off notifications for 1 hour. Find a quiet corner. These tiny adjustments create mental clarity. And clarity leads to focus. And focus leads to progress. Another simple but powerful change. Designate a specific space for learning. If you always study English in the same spot, your brain starts associating that spot with focus. When you sit there, your brain automatically switches into learning mode. It becomes a trigger, and triggers make habits easier.
Also, pay attention to the people in your environment. Are they supportive of your goals? Or do they distract you, discourage you, or drain your energy? You don't have to cut people out of your life, but you do need to set boundaries. Protect your time. Protect your focus. Surround yourself as much as possible with people who lift you up.
And finally, control what enters your mind. The content you consume, the music you listen to, the conversations you have, all of it shapes your mindset. If you consume negative, discouraging, or distracting content all day, you'll feel negative and distracted. But if you choose uplifting, educational, or inspiring content, you'll feel more motivated and clear. Your environment includes your physical space, your social circle, and your mental inputs. Optimize all three, even just a little bit, and you'll notice a big difference in your energy and motivation. Your environment constantly affects your focus and energy. A cluttered space creates a cluttered mind. Designate a specific spot for focused work to create triggers. Protect your time and energy by setting boundaries. Control what content you consume to shape your mindset. Finally, remember this: progress is not linear. Some days you'll feel strong. Other days you'll feel lazy again. That doesn't mean you failed. It means you're human. The goal is not to never feel lazy. The goal is to not stay there. When you stop, you don't quit. You restart. I think one of the biggest myths about success is that successful people never struggle, that they're always motivated, always productive, always moving forward. But that's not true. Everyone has bad days. Everyone feels lazy sometimes. The difference is that successful people don't let one bad day turn into a bad week, a bad month, or a bad year.
Progress looks like a zigzag, not a straight line. You move forward, then you slip back a little. Then you move forward again, then you plateau. Then you have a breakthrough. Then you struggle. This is normal. This is how growth actually works. So when you have a lazy day, don't panic. Don't think you've lost all your progress. Just get back on track the next day. The key is resilience. Resilience doesn't mean you never fall. It means you always get back up. And every time you get back up, you get a little bit stronger. You learn a little bit more about yourself. You build mental toughness. And that toughness is what carries you through the long journey.
Here's another truth. Motivation will come and go. Discipline will waver. Energy will fluctuate. But if you have a clear reason why you're doing what you're doing, you'll keep going. Your why is your anchor. When everything else feels shaky, your why keeps you grounded. So ask yourself, why do I want to learn English? Why do I want to stop being lazy? Why do I want to change? Write it down. Look at it when you feel like giving up. Let it remind you that this effort has meaning, that you're not just going through the motions. You're building something.
And be kind to yourself along the way. You're not a machine. You're a human being with emotions, energy levels, and limits. Some days you'll do great. Other days you'll barely get by. And that's okay. What matters is that you keep showing up, even imperfectly. Because imperfect action is still action. And action, over time, creates transformation. Progress is not linear. It's full of ups and downs. Everyone has bad days. Successful people just restart quickly. Resilience means getting back up every time you fall. Your why is your anchor when motivation fades. Be kind to yourself. Imperfect action is still action. If you're feeling lazy or demotivated right now, don't be hard on yourself. Ask yourself what you need: rest, clarity, or a smaller step.
You don't need to fix your whole life today. You just need to start one small thing.
Stand up. Drink water. Open the book. Write one sentence.
Action creates energy, not the other way around.
Before we end, I want to leave you with this. You are not broken. You are not lazy. You are not a failure. You're just a person who's been carrying too much for too long. And now it's time to put some of that weight down. To simplify. To start small. To trust yourself again.
Today, right now, make one tiny promise to yourself. Just one. And keep it. That's all you need to do. One small promise. One small action. That's where momentum begins.
Thank you for listening to the English Mastery Podcast.
If this episode helped you, share it with someone who feels stuck. Let them know they're not alone. Let them know it's okay to start small.
Keep listening. Keep practicing. Keep moving forward, even if it's slow.
And remember, you are not lazy.
You're just getting started. See you in the next episode. You've got this.